the window had been busted out and part of our gear had been stolen.
There's nowhere to play up here at all.
I'm sitting there kind of by myself, like waiting for my manners, and the mirrors, like the mirrors kind of like spin open like 90 degrees, like they kind of rotate open, and all these women in sexy lingerie can come walking out from behind the mirrors.
I'm just going to throw this out there that it almost sounded like you were kind of the dark side sometimes of the scene.
Just when I'd parted ways with Monuments, and so it was really, really desperate time of my life.
At the end of it, our bass player told us, like, he just looked at us and like, yeah, this is my last show.
So, like, basically back to the Beast era.
Dealing with this alcohol intake, and we're at a Christian festival, and we're supposed to be a Christian band. I was kind of like, man, this sucks. This is not a good look.
Welcome back to Dark Side of the Scene. I am Brandon.
I'm Ed.
And we're here to bring you happy times.
Actually, like, now that you talk about happy times and I have to listen to some of these, I need to, like, tone it down on the cussing because it makes me seem less intelligent than I already am not. So
I do kind of go back and listen, and then I shake my head sometimes because I think we sound dumb.
I definitely sound dumb, and I've been telling you that for a while. Like, I need to.
So from this moment on, audience, we're going to strive to sound more intelligent.
Or I should laugh less for no reason. Like, I don't know why. I got like this nervous giggle going on. Sometimes I behave myself, but then I'm like, why am I laughing constantly?
I have noticed you do laugh, but I always just assume you're a happy person. It's okay to laugh.
I guess it's just overly laughing. Like, should that even be that funny? I don't know. I just
anyone out there
yeah,
that is a musician listening to this understands what we're talking about, because you're usually always critical of yourself when you go back and listen to things that you've recorded.
yeah.
At least I am.
Yeah. I mean, there's some where I'm actually like, man, I pulled that off good. But then others, I'm like, I don't sound very smart. And I don't think I'm very smart to begin with, but that does not help.
We always just wing it around these parts.
Actually, I have something funny to also rant about. It's not even a rant. I have a friend who's been giving me like musical gear. I'm not gonna say who, obviously, but like they gave me like some practice amps. And as a guitarist, you get like free shit randomly. It's pretty cool. But she was saying something about, because I had asked the person, like, you got any more stuff? Because I was trying to get like a beginner guitar for when I start giving lessons. I don't want to like use my expensive stuff. And I go, you got any more gear in that basement of yours? And they're like, no, I'm getting divorced, so I'm selling my significant other stuff that they left over, because apparently they ended up with the cat and they gave that person's cat away. I'm like, wow. Jesus fucking Christ, that's fucking mean.
Yeah.
Like, I would kill that MFer because, you know, that's an animal. We don't give away an animal. But again, I'm not saying who. It was just interesting how, like,
people take the animal stuff like they do children, and they use that as leverage.
All right, like, you know, to spiteful things.
And then they get assholes that'll go out there and deliberately hurt or have it put down or straight up kill themselves. Like, that's just a fucking evil person.
Well,
but they're out there.
Yeah. So, like I said, I might get some more free gear coming my way because of somebody's fuck up. So that's kind of cool, I guess. I don't know if that's really a rant or something, but like, you know, times are tough. You know, just take free stuff as you can get it. Right on.
Times are tough. That's why I had to do an episode recently without you, because you had to be out there making that side hustle money.
Yeah, I hope that episode turned out well. I mean, it's cool that it probably turned out better because you didn't have me like laughing stupidly or putting the topics to something else unrelated.
No. We talked about some stuff that wasn't really related either, but it happens.
That's all
Well,
right. So yeah,
It's good to have some variety.
yeah, right. I don't think I could do this without you. I'd piss myself and no one would see that because I don't have the camera on.
It's not that terrible. I interview all sorts of people apparently on my other ones, so
Oh yeah, it's true. Very
going
true.
going solo is I was doing that before we ventured into this
Well,
territory.
yeah, well, you let them talk. I mean, you ask the questions afterward, but like, that's their story to share. So that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe I should talk less and let the person talk instead of giggling at every dumb thing that I say. Like now.
I was gonna say you just did it. We could turn this into a drinking game.
I should be drinking it. Probably laugh less.
Anyone that wants to play the drinking game, anytime you hear Ed laugh, you have to take one shot.
Oh my god, that would be.
You'd be drunk in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, and it's usually a school night when we have these episodes, so I don't recommend it.
Well, they don't hear them on school nights. They can listen to them during work. Have to take shots at work.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Anyways, if you would like to be on Dark Side of the Scene and talk to a couple jackasses, you can send an email to Brandon at darksideofthescene.com and we will get you scheduled on a future episode. We are probably not sure the exact number, but I think we're like 40 episodes deep now.
Damn.
It's crazy to think we've done that many episodes already. It's only been what, like a couple months?
Yeah, we're probably overachievers, maybe.
I think we're in like 40 something episodes and we've only been doing this consistently now for like a little over 3 months. So that's a lot of work.
A lot of talking.
Yes. But on that note, we're going to bring our guest on in so that they can do some talking. So hang tight and we'll be back in just 1 second. I'd like to take this time to welcome our guest Ryan to the show. Ryan, thanks for coming out and talking with Ed and I.
Hey, great to meet y'all, Brandon. Great to meet you, Ed.
Thanks, Ryan. Nice to meet you too.
Hell yeah.
Ryan was cool enough to change his photo, so Ed didn't get to see what he looked like. So Ed can still play his game.
I can look now?
Yeah, you can look.
I've been staring. The fuck am I looking at? Oh, well, anyway. Brian basically turned into a bush. That's cool.
I think it's a rock.
Oh, we don't have to put that.
Yeah, it's like a rocky background. I just zoomed in on the photo that was there so you couldn't see.
Sweet. All right. Yeah, most of the audience by now know the game is because I think their last episode actually said, from now on, I'm going to try to guess what each guest looks like by the voice and mannerisms, even though I can't see them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was the episode that just
the
came
purpose
out.
of guessing what we look like if you could see us, right?
yeah,
Okay.
Exactly. So how long have you been playing, Ryan? And what's your instrument or etc.?
So I don't know. I've been playing music for like 20 or so years, maybe a little bit over that. Primarily, I'm a vocalist. So for my band Royal Hearts, I'm a singer, screamer, do all that stuff. But I also learned other instruments growing up. I do a lot of the guitar work on our recorded singles for Royal Hearts too, a lot of the bass work. So I know a little bit about each instrument. I'm probably not like the best at any of them, but I do what I do and I have fun.
Yeah, it helps to be a vocalist and actually play an instrument versus one that can't.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I remember like growing up through like my teens when I only knew how to play percussion, I knew how to play drums, and then I wanted to be, a singer. I couldn't articulate like notes and things like that to kind of like come up with chord progressions and ideas. So learning the other instruments as I got older certainly helped with kind of expressing that sort of stuff.
That completely makes sense. So where are you based out of?
I live in Jacksonville, Florida. Our band is based out of Fort Lauderdale, which is the opposite end of the state, though. So, about 5 hours between me and the rest of the guys, but we are a Florida band. So
Wow.
Florida. Yeah.
I've been to Jacksonville like one time. It was a friend's wedding and it was in July and that
Oh,
weather.
that's a rough time to be in
Yeah,
Jacksonville.
especially from Indiana, and like me from being in Indiana and like feeling that whole humidity, and then like the sun. I'm like, what is this? And
Yeah.
toxic sky.
It's actually much worse in South Florida because it's even more humid. So like where I'm from, South Florida, during the summer, if you are not like actively inside of a body of water, like a pool or in the beach, like stay the hell inside.
Hmm. I have a funny Jacksonville, Florida story, which I'll talk about later, but it's
Okay.
mostly about you. But this show's mostly about you. So how's the scene there? You know?
Um, for the last two, so I've been here since 2021, about summer. So it's been about 2 years that I've been up here.
Hmm.
When I moved up here, I didn't know anybody, so I just kind of actively explored all of the different venues. And there were about like 7 or 8 or 6 or 7 different spots that I could kind of go to and catch a show or some sort of live music that night. It was really bumping for a while. Uh, Something happened. There was some sort of shift in kind of like the venues. One of them closed down, and it was kind of like the hub for a lot of like hardcore music.
Hmm.
So there was kind of a empty space for a while, but there's a few more DIY spots that are just now kind of popping up that I haven't been able to check out yet. But if I, look around town, there's usually something going on like once every other day at least.
Nice. Well,
So it's pretty decent. It's pretty
so,
decent.
so why'd you move there? I mean, because
Um,
you said your band somewhere else. Were you with your band and then you moved to
Yeah,
Jacksonville?
yeah, we started the band at the tail end of 2018 in South Florida.
Okay.
After my wife and I got married and dealt with the beast for a little bit, we decided we wanted to buy a home.
Hmm.
And she had some family that lives up in Jacksonville, so we decided to look up this way and we bought a house and it's pretty nice, except for July because it's humid.
Right. And so basically you separated yourself from your band. They
I did. It was a certainly a difficult decision and one that we like had a very lengthy discussion about like how everything was going to go with me moving to the opposite end of the state.
mm,
But it kind of helped us. I
mm,
know it sounds counterintuitive, but being on the opposite end of the state and allowing me to network up here has kind of created a second hometown for our band.
mm.
So we have a hometown in Fort Lauderdale where we're out of, but then we also kind of have a hometown crowd up in Jacksonville at this point because we've been trading shows back and forth for the last 2 or so years. Me going down for gigs, then them coming up for gigs.
That makes sense. Wow, that's a still well, so like how do you practice? Like you just kind of do see, I'm trying to look on the map like how far that would
It's
be.
about
Like,
it's 5 hours.
yeah, you did say that.
Yeah, it's 5 hours. So
Ooh.
some of the fortunate things is that my role in the band in terms of performing is just the vocalist. And because we have shifted to using the clicks and in-ear monitoring, we
Yeah.
are able to consistently practice on our own. That way,
Mm,
every couple months or so, I go down and we do like a 4 or 5 hour rehearsal just to kind of tighten things up. But the rest of them down south, they'll get together probably like once every few weeks or so just to brush up on new things or work out transitions. And then we just communicate that sort of thing back and forth.
yeah, my vocalist should not listen to this podcast because
I don't recommend a long distance sort of
well, he's not.
process.
Well, that's funny because he's not long distance, but sometimes he says, "Well, I don't need to be practiced," but he only lives like I don't know, 40 minutes away.
Oh
And
no,
it's like
it's certainly if I had lived close, even if I had only moved to say 2 hours away, if I was like in Orlando where I was only about 2 hours away from South Florida, I would certainly be more frequent at rehearsals. But
right.
I mean, 10 hours of driving, five down, five up
No,
is a
no.
tough task, especially with, I have my wife up here, I have a full-time job. So there's certainly restrictions as to when I can go down,
Mhm.
but it's certainly important to be there, regardless of what your role is in the band. It's just in this situation, it's not too totally feasible.
And it's cool that it works out that way because they could have said, well, dude, sorry, we gotta let you go.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. That was certainly I mean, we really had two options. I double in the band as not just being the vocalist, but I also do all of the booking, all of the social media, a lot of the back end stuff.
mm,
Um, so we kind of just discussed like, can this be something that we can make work, or do we kind of need to part ways? And the three of us at the time just decided that yeah, let's do it. Um, it's not gonna stop us, and we've actually just seen nothing but growth since I've moved. I don't know if that's because I moved or if it was just coincidental that it kind of happened at the same time.
yeah.
But no, I mean, it's been pretty good. We've had to turn down some opportunities here and there because we aren't able to travel. Either they can't travel up this way or I can't travel down that way. So we sometimes miss opportunities, but we make the best of the ones that we do get.
So let's say, what opportunities have you guys been doing? Do you do like the weekend warrior thing, or how?
Yeah. So we tried to, so last year we were kind of juggling different fill-in guitar players. So we played about 12 shows for last year.
Mm,
Um and our goal was to at least play that many, if not more. And I think right now we're on pace for about 20 to 25 shows by the end of this year.
mm.
And the size of some of these shows has definitely scaled up. Last year we opened up for Cane Hill and Afterlife. We also opened up for Emery and Aaron Gillespie. We opened up for We Came as Romans. We're about to open up for Attila in October.
Nice.
So I would say that we've definitely earned some solid opportunities that we're just looking to capitalize on the best we can.
Yeah. You said a fill-in guitarist. So like, is it just one guitarist, or?
Yeah, so we only play as a four-piece,
Mm,
and we had let go of our first guitarist at the end of 2021. And for the past 18 or so months, we've kind of rotated through a couple different fill-in guitar players.
how
Right
does
now we're
that?
working with our, go ahead,
Sorry.
finish your question.
How does that work? Like, I mean, sometimes I would think it'd be fun to find somebody to fill in if we can't play a show, but that's like almost impossible. And then pride gets in the way of some people that, no, we can't all play unless we're all there. And if you, to me, I'm the guitar player. So like, if somebody wanted to do it, they could, but does that make sense? Like,
Yeah, I get what
basically,
you're saying. I
yeah,
mean,
we're
so
basically kind of trapped if like the other one person can't make it.
yeah, so to
Yeah.
answer the first part of the question is we didn't have to convince our other guitar player to have fill-ins because we parted, like we kicked him out. Like it didn't work. Like,
Right.
we parted. So, but we just needed a fill-in. And fortunately, most of the folks that we found over the past year and a half, really only wanted to just play, a handful of gigs here and there. They weren't looking to be a part of a band in terms of like decision making and financial obligations. They just wanted to play a couple of shows. So that worked. But going back to what you were saying about having fill-ins when someone can't make it, I think that's really something about like being able to set your ego aside for like the greater good of a project. And it really I guess it also can depend on which person is being filled in for,
Hmm.
if that makes sense.
No,
Not that everybody in a group isn't important, but some, I mean, for a musical group, some people are the personality or identity of the band. So having them be replaced even for a show can seriously change like the perception of that group.
I could actually say that I'll go on a limb here and say that I probably can't be replaced. I mean, like, I know I'm laughing at it, but I feel like I'm not the voice or the face of the band, but I seem to be the goofy one anyway. So,
Yeah,
but
sometimes, yeah.
by all means, if somebody could step up and want to play my stuff in this area, I would let them. But that is the hardest thing, to find anybody that would want to play a couple gigs, because basically, some people are just lazy.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. We had a couple of folks that had reached out to us to fill in, and they just kind of never responded once they kind of found out the kind of work that they needed to do. And like our music isn't difficult on guitar. It's fairly average in terms of the difficulty. Like there's some really cool parts, but most of it's pretty straightforward. So
Mm.
any halfway decent like metal or alternative rock or hard rock sort of guitar player could learn it. But do they want to? Is it like is it something that they vibe with? And if they don't vibe with the music, then they don't even they're learning.
I think it'd be fun, just to fill in for a band if they needed it. I mean, that's just like part of being a musician is just being open to things and trying something out just to say you did. Like, oh, I played, but
Yeah,
you'll have a lot of
yeah.
people who are just pretty closed minded anyway. So it is what it is.
It surely is. It surely is.
I had another question, but I kind of shit. So I guess we'll go back to the Beast era. So during all that, what did your band do? Like,
So, like I said, we started at the end of 2018. So we spent most of 2019 writing music, right?
mhm,
And towards the end of that year, we had recorded 5 songs. We were super hyped on. Like this was our first release. We were gonna put out an EP in April of 2020? Yeah. We were
mhm,
gonna put it out spring 2020. We were gonna do like a couple weekend or 5-day tours, sorts of stuff, just kind of the things that we're doing now in terms of travel. So it's the end of March or mid-March. We're getting everything finalized. We're, crossing our T's and dotting our I's. And then all of the sudden, there were no opportunities to play out to promote this EP. So we pushed back the release date towards later in the year. We used that time to film some more content. We shot our first music video, and we kind of just continued writing music and networking online. We did a lot of research and sort of like followed other bands and saw what they were doing
mm.
that was finding them success, and we tried to do our versions of those types of things, like engaging with people online more and just kind of using whatever limited resources were available to us at that time. So that way, when we're able to start playing shows again, more people knew about us because of the work we had been doing online.
Mm. Nice. I mean, that's pretty much what a lot of people did just to,
Yeah, yeah. I
but
mean,
it's,
we didn't.
but in your case, it's like kind of, it's definitely awkward because again, you live further from the band. So like, did you have to make time to
Well,
go do those?
I hadn't moved yet, right? I
I see,
hadn't
I pay
moved yet.
attention.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that's
yeah.
right. You
I
moved like,
moved. I moved June
ah,
of 21.
okay.
So for 18 months, we were sitting with our, twiddling our thumbs, but we were using that time to write new music and work on other things and workshop stuff and
Mm.
the same thing that so many other bands were doing. Certainly wasn't anything unique, but it was the best that we could do with the time that we had.
Well, that's good. I mean, that was good that you kept busy. A lot of bands have just not done anything. They're just like, you know,
I certainly have seen some bands in my region where they are just now playing their first shows since the beginning of 2020,
wow.
and it's 3 years later, and they have not. I just feel like some of those bands they went dormant for so long that people may have forgotten about them,
Yeah.
or that they just might not find like their groove again.
That's so
Like
crazy because, if I remember correctly, like Florida was more lenient about the rules,
Florida
right?
was certainly more lenient. When I moved up, prior to me moving up to Jacksonville, we had come up to visit a couple times because, like I said, my wife has family up here, and there were certainly parts up here where there were no restrictions.
Mm.
Like we went to a bar, we went to like this dockside bar, right, where people could like pull up in their boat and dock their boat and like get out and go eat and whatever. And it was like spring break all of the time there. People were running around, not even just without masks, but like without shirts. So like no masks, no shirts, no. It was like they were having a party. It was certainly odd, and like we exercised caution, but as time progressed and we took those whatever precautions we felt we needed to take, like we started opening up in Florida certainly much sooner than everywhere else did.
That's definitely interesting to hear from a Florida person.
Yeah.
I think you're our first Florida person, actually. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, I looked
Yeah.
through your
Yeah.
catalog. I don't think you have another Florida band yet.
Yes.
There are a lot to choose from. Like if you guys need some recommendations, I can give you a laundry list, but
Hey, we're always up
there's
for
a lot of killer music down here.
yeah, always up for different artists just to hear their stories. So and so the everybody's got jobs in the band. So how is your job interfere with like all your stuff? I mean, is it pretty open? Like if you're out,
Oh, like my
you're
day job?
you're like yeah, everybody's day job including.
Yeah, no, I'm a full-time high school teacher. I teach 12th grade English. So there are long stretches of the school year where I'm not able to travel for more than maybe like a day, like a Friday or a Saturday.
Mm.
So that's why we kind of focus on doing like these weekend runs
Hmm.
because that's something that I can mostly do, just with notice. Uh, but there are definitely some limitations that my professional job can put on me as a performer. Um, when it comes to like some of the content that, some bands can create,
Right.
like not that I would ever want to because it's not really my vibe in general, but like I could never do anything that was like deemed too obscene or too graphic or too
Right.
violent.
Right.
So like I know a lot of bands do like these very theatrical music videos. Like look at bands like Ice Nine Kills, right? Where all of their music videos are basically horror movies. That would be something that I would not be able to do as a teacher because my legal name is attached to it. You know what I mean?
No, that makes sense. Bless
But
your bless your heart though, like putting up with kids, like being a
hey,
teacher.
I mean
It's
like
hard to be a teacher, yeah.
it's certainly got its challenges. Like there are some days where it's really tough to kind of get into the classroom and do my thing, and there are some days where it's like it's awesome. I teach 17 and 18-year-old young students, and like some of them have really great ideas, and some of them are very funny, and they're kind of just finding their personalities. So like it's really cool to see sometimes. Some of them fucking suck.
Yeah,
Some of
I can
them
imagine.
are just, they're jerks.
Mm.
They have attitudes and like they all have their own bad. I get that, but I have 150 students. If there's a couple that are jerks, like that's gonna happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's good that you still like your job then. Like,
Yeah. I'm certainly not in it for the money.
no. I now that we're back on the Florida thing, my experience if I tell you a funny story. Maybe the buildings are still there, but I went down there with a friend to a friend's wedding. She lives in Jacksonville. She still does actually.
Mm-hmm.
And she was getting married and I had to go visit my friend in Delray Beach for like a day.
Okay.
So I had them drop me off at like one of the rent-a-car places on a busy strip of road. I don't remember which one because when they dropped me off, they had no cars. So I had to walk to an Avis, which I don't know if the Avis is still there. It was in like a mobile home style kind of building by the bridge. I don't know what road this is, right? So
Yeah, I was gonna say
I wish I
you're
could
not
tell you.
narrowing it down for me, but
I just
I'm
remember
assuming it was somewhere near downtown.
it could have been downtown. I just remember I had to walk to a different like car rental place. And like I said, Lord only knows if they're still there because this was like 2008 or 9. So it's been a while. And I walked
Yeah,
there
who
and I
knows?
waited on the steps of this like car rental place. And then some dude pulls up. He just sits there in his car forever. And there was a note on the door because the office was said like I'll be back, whatever. So I
Mm-hmm.
waited and waited, and then the person in the car got in his car and left. And then next thing you know, 2 cops come and they're like, "Hey, do you know where the boss is?" I'm like, "I'm just we're here to rent a car." But I don't. It was weird because then like the guy showed up, he was all panicky. He's like, "I'm sorry." Oh man, what do you need, man? I'm like, "I need a car." So I had a shitty Toyota Yaris that had no like, what do you call it? I can't even think of the word now. Uh, basically the car was I don't know why I can't think of it. Cruise it had no cruise control. I don't know why that was hard to get out. No cruise control. So I had to go all the way like 4 hours down to Delray Beach in a non-cruise control car.
I was gonna say I know that drive because the rest of the band
Yeah.
lives just south of Delray.
Yeah. And I just pictured that because I'm like, I went through all of these like cities I've seen or heard of. I'm like, oh my god, I've went through blah blah blah. But
Yeah.
man, it was so humid, and I told my friend as soon as I got there, I need a shower and a Best Buy because the radio in this damn car sucks.
Yeah.
So that was my Florida experience, driving 4 hours
Oh.
up and there and back, and pretty wild.
Certainly not a fun experience.
No, so no, I haven't, but it was pretty cool down there. Obviously, there's a lot of lizards, and I was trying
Lots
to
of
capture 'em.
iguanas, yeah.
The little lizards I try to capture, like a weirdo that I am.
Do they
Yeah.
not have like lizards where you live?
Indiana, no, we have like meth heads and rats and
Oh.
and black squirrels.
Oh.
That is not entirely true.
With the meth heads?
That's true, yes. But I do think there are some sort of lizard. Someone actually just sent me a photo of one recently, and I've seen one. I've seen one before too.
The lizards.
Yes, I will try and figure out. Oh, it's my buddy.
I just assume lizards were everywhere.
My buddy caught one in a mouse trap. It's like a little. I'm assuming it's probably like one of those. I don't know what they call them, newts or something like that.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, like
I'll send you the picture here in a
they
second.
hide in the mud, right? I mean, that's not the same
That's
as
salamanders.
salamander.
I'm not talking about that. I had a huge one in my basement last summer or 2 summers ago.
I've never heard of this. What the hell?
I'll send you a picture of that thing too.
Oh.
Yeah, he's from Florida. He don't know what basements are.
we ain't got basements in Florida.
Yeah,
You don't have
you
well,
an
you
in-ground
don't have
pool.
a southern accent. You sound more like you're from New York.
No, yeah, I am actually. I'm born from New York, so yeah. My family's from Staten Island.
This is why you don't sound like you're from Florida.
Yeah, yeah. I grew up down here. I've been living in Florida since I was like 3 years old.
So I'm gonna guess what you look like by your voice. You either look like you look like probably the guy that was in that movie Hereditary, like the son.
I don't know what that guy looked.
Damn it.
I'm gonna look this up.
Or the guy from the Wonder Years that everybody thought was Marilyn Manson.
All right, let me see. I need to look at this up. All right, so hang on. You said I look like the son?
The son from the movie Hereditary.
What was the son's name?
Shit. This is an
Is
actor.
it Zachary Arthur? It's like a little kid.
No.
I was about to say I don't look that young. Oh shit. I'm looking at all of the cast right now. I don't know.
Well, let me see.
Was his name Brendan? I look nothing like that guy.
Alex Wolf.
Alex Wolf. You are very off.
Completely. What about the
Like
son?
honestly, that's a compliment. That guy's a good looking guy. He's the picture I'm seeing on IMDb. He's got like this wavy hair. It's like very styled. Like
You don't look like that guy.
Not at all.
What about the guy
No.
from Wonder? What about the guy from Wonder Years?
The guy that looks like Marilyn Manson.
Yeah.
I don't look like Marilyn Manson, if that's what you're asking.
No. Just the actor.
The Wonder Years from the show.
Yeah.
You're wrong. He doesn't.
Oh man. See, I'm not good at this.
Did you just look up what I look like? Oh, Fred Savage.
No, it was his friend.
It was his friend, the one that everyone thought would turn into Marilyn Manson later on in life, but that's not true. He's not Marilyn Manson. But no, you don't. I saw what his photo looked like.
Yeah, I'm looking at the cat. I'm looking at just like a cast list right now. What's his? One guy on here looks like he could be a serial killer, but I don't think
probably him.
Is it Giovanni Ribisi?
No,
He played-
Giovanni
oh.
Ribisi is actually
Okay. The picture they have of him up here though, it looks like he's about to Hannibal Lecter somebody.
No, he does look like Hannibal Lecter.
Like yeah.
I've never
No, I
seen.
don't-
Sorry,
No, go. I was gonna say I don't look like
neither of them.
any of the things.
I totally screwed up.
Here, I'll show you what I look like.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know the listeners aren't gonna see, but you could see me. Oh, there's like no light where I'm at. Just kidding. I
Way
look
off.
nothing like super off.
Way
Like
off.
super off.
Way off.
I got a round little Italian face.
Well, you sounded Italian, New York, and I'm like, where's this accent coming from?
Yeah. No, I certainly don't have a southern accent. Well, South Florida is not even really the South. Like
Right.
geographically it's South, but culturally there's so many different like groups of people there.
Yeah.
And there's very seldom like a southerner. You're not gonna walk into
Right.
like a coffee shop in South Florida and have the person be like, hey y'all, how you doing today? Like that's not really
My
it.
yeah, my friend's husband, he's got a southern accent, and they're the ones that live in like Jacksonville.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, certainly in Jacksonville, um, there are definitely people that have some very strong, not super strong, but definitely noticeable Southern accents.
So he showed me the picture of this lizard, and I was like, I've never seen one of these in Indiana. That's creepy.
I'm trying to throw it up on the screen, and I don't know how to do that. So.
I mean, it looks a little scary. It looks kind of like a Florida lizard, but we don't have those. Oh well. Anyway,
Yeah. Anyway,
back to your story.
anyway.
Anyway, so I guess basically the topic of this whole thing is, what are the nightmarish things that your band has faced aside from, like being separated 5 hours? I mean, you make that work in a positive
Yeah,
light, but
I
what
don't
are
think that's a nightmare. So I don't know how many like nightmarish things I've had take place as part of this band, but as a musician, I've definitely had some very crappy shows or shitty experiences that have happened that I
Hmm.
definitely think people would enjoy hearing about
Sure,
because
sure.
some of them are just they could be helpful, but some of them are just, one of them's pretty fucking gross. And I think it's
Uh,
just amusing and how nasty it is, but I'll get to that one in a second.
yeah.
So I played a show. This must have been like 10 or so years ago. And this was back when I was living in South Florida. I was in a different band at the time. That what the show was like this all-day festival in this place called, like, I think it was called, like, the area was some Redlands or something. Some independent person was putting on something, and it was like a
Mm.
farm, right? Um, and from what I gathered, like everything was going pretty okay throughout the day. Like we had gotten there because even from South Florida to drive to that part of Miami was about an hour and a half drive because it is not close. It was in the middle of nowhere. So we got there at like 8 p.m. We were told we were going on somewhere around 11 p.m. Like we weren't the closers. There were still bands slotted to go after us. And it was supposed to be like this all night festival that was going to go on to like 3 in the morning. So we're like, all right, no big deal. We'll just get there at like 8. That way we're not hanging around all day for no reason. So we get there at like 8 p.m. We ended up renting like a small van for this because we had to bring all of our shit and we wanted to all just drive together. So we spent like what $100 on like on one of those like 12 passengers. This was, like I said, like 10 years ago. So
Mm.
we rented it, we drive down, we get there, and then we find out that everything had been pushed back about 2 hours. So our 11 o'clock slot was now 1 a.m., right? So it's 1 o'clock in the morning. So
Hmm.
at about 12 o'clock, we start doing our load in. Like at this point, we're just annoyed because I was like, shit, I must be home at this point. So we're setting up, we're getting everything all put on, and we're dealing with like little technical things, nothing big, like, hey, this outlet needs to be moved over here. We need an extension cord. None of that. But we get set up, 1 o'clock hits, and we start playing, and we get about 2 minutes into our set before the fucking cops show up and shut the entire night down.
But
And we had no opportunity to sell any sort of merchandise or really network with anybody or, show anybody like what we sounded like or like what kind of band we were and how we could maybe use that to create some sort of friends in Miami. And now we're like breaking down. These cops are like just chilling there watching everybody break fucking down. And by the time we get loaded back in the van, it's like 1:45. Now we're driving back. We didn't get back home till like 3 o'clock in the morning. Would have
hmm.
been fine had we actually been able to like play our set.
Right.
So like nothing bad happened to us. Like we weren't in trouble. It was just like a super major inconvenience. And I think kind of like the takeaway I got from that is like don't book shows with people you don't know or have never really kind of spoken to before. Because the person that put that show on, like I don't think I've ever spoken to that person since then or even before. And I don't even remember how that show even came about. I just know that we were stuck in Miami at 1:40 in the morning loading our gear back in because the cops shut down the show. Um, but
That's a
that's
yeah, that's a tough one because like
yeah,
you're trying to make connections, but then like you don't know it's like every show that you
yeah,
haven't every show you haven't played is usually a surprise. it might be good, it might be bad, but
Yeah, if you don't know at least one person involved in the show, whether it's another band playing or the promoter or someone from the venue, like try and find out as much information as you can because you might need to like back out of that show. Another example of that is during that same time period, we had booked a show at a local like craft beer place, right? Small spot, maybe fit like 70 people, like a tiny room. And the bar show together, and that's like a red flag. If the bar puts the show together and no one at the bar is like a fucking musician or promoter, they're just gonna pick three names out of a hat and say, all right, this is the show, whether it works well or not. And this is an example of like it did not fucking work, right? So we were the closer. The opening band was an acoustic like Americana folk singer. Okay, which is fine, right? 8 o'clock, it's early in the night, something to ease people into it, right? Maybe the next band has like some electric guitars and like some drums, like, and then you can ease into something that was a little bit more kind of like high energy. Like we were playing like Taking Back Sunday type shit. Not heavy, but definitely heavy when you compare it to like acoustic folk music, right? So the second band comes up. Not only did they not bring like electric guitars, they brought like a fucking upright bass and banjos out. So we ended up like at the end of the night, we wheel in our, we don't have massive gear, but compared to what everybody just saw, we might as well have been wheeling in a goddamn Godzilla, right? Because we've got cabs and we've got a drum set. And the second we turn our shit on and do our quick little sound check, and again, we weren't anything too heavy. This is like a similar to like 2000s pop punk music. Every single person there walked out.
Ugh.
Like the place wasn't packed, like there wasn't 80 people in there, but like there were like 30 or so people, and watching them all single file right out the door, and they didn't leave, they just went outside
to go smoke like they do.
Go smoke the entirety of our set and just kind of like glance inside, staring back and forth. Like it's definitely, and again, like the bar booked it. We didn't know who the promoter, there wasn't really a promoter, like it was just haphazardly thrown together.
Did you get paid at least?
I think we got a bar tab in like $50. We didn't travel, like it was local to us. Like,
okay.
Like at that point, like we didn't really give a shit. Like we were still pretty like new as a band, like pretty small. So this was still just part of like the grind. But no, it fucking sucked. Like also anybody that says that like bands should play like free shows and not get paid, like because it's the grind, that's also stupid.
No, that is stupid. Sometimes
pay performance.
Sometimes you can't control that. Not that they don't want to pay you. It's just like they didn't make much. I mean, I guess a little bit is a little bit, but like there's and like your example of wrong mix of bands. Like Chicago does that sometimes. I remember we played a show, my old band, where the first band was like a eclectic like folk band, and like the chick had some sort of weird she looked like straight out of Zelda, like her outfit, and she had like a flute and some sort of thing that she controlled with her feet, like an old instrument. And then the second band was like a pop punk band, if that. I don't even know what they were. And then like I think the two bands were like metal after that, and I'm like, how does this happen? I mean, I get variety, but sometimes you have to be careful.
There's got to be a theme or a concept
there
behind
has to
variety.
Be, yeah.
Like you can do like two drastic styles of, say, like you could do like a pop punk deathcore show if you promote it as something like that,
right?
Like if you're like, hey, this is pop punk versus deathcore night, we're gonna have these three bands battle it out with these three bands, like, and you make it some sort of event. Like you can sell shit like that, you can figure it out. You can't just take like, hey, this is a pop punk band, this is a grunge band, this is a Beatles cover band. Like you can't throw them and be like, all right, guys, have fun, because no one's gonna have fun.
No, we get along pretty well with like some of the trap rapper bands, where some of them actually start screaming in it now.
Okay.
Or just a rap band in general that's kind of will have like heavy parts, but like that works, but some other things it won't,
Like bands like a Dropout Kings or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those guys
Yeah.
are pretty tight.
Actually, they're playing around here soon.
Oh,
At
hell
least
yeah.
I'd never seen them, and I wouldn't mind opening up for them, but they're at some place that one of my band members refuses to play for. So there goes that opportunity. But whatever.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the shit story.
Sure.
I'm not gonna segue into it. I'm just gonna just pivot. So about 5 years ago, I was in an indie band, like indie pop punk band called Migrate. It was like pretty catchy, like sort of like there was some like wheedly wheedlies. There was a lot of fun music. It was fun times. We decided to go on a 10-day tour. And we did this in the summer. So this is like what, 2018, late summer 2018. Again, because me being a teacher, and then the singer of that band was also a teacher. So it worked out for the both of us. So the first night went pretty well. We had driven all the way up to like Philadelphia and New Jersey. I can't remember where we went to first, but those went great. And we started working our way back down the coast. Once we hit the Carolinas, our next show, or the Virginias, our next show was in Middlesburg, Tennessee. So that was about 10 hours west of where we were. All right, not a big deal. Like we were gonna have to do a long drive at some point during this trip. So we drive all the way out to Middlesburg, Tennessee, where we were told it's like popping for music because there's not much to do in Middlesburg, and all of the college students like come out to shows because there's not much to do. Now that sounds great, right? A bunch of college students needing something to do, so they all come out to shows. Wouldn't you say like that's kind of worth it? Like, hey, maybe
Sure.
there'll be 100. So we forgot one important detail. We did this tour in fucking June, and there's no school in June. So there's no fucking students. So we get to this place, and it's this tiny little shop that just does like these DIY pop-up shows. And the owner was there, and he was like nice. And there was like one or two other people there that were there before the show, and like another band or two. And that was it. All three bands played for 2 people. So we drove 10 hours to play for 2 people in the middle of nowhere. And we were just going to be crashing with the promoter because they had a place that we could stay at. So now we get to the second half of the story. The promoter afterwards says, hey, I live about 40 minutes away. You guys are more than welcome to crash with me. Okay, cool. So we get in the van, drive over to the address, and it's like this row of tiny little, like, kind of dilapidated townhomes. And we get there before him, so we look very out of place because we're just like, at this point, it's probably like midnight, 12:30 in the morning, and we're just parked in this parking lot. And he gets back about 20 minutes after we did. Crazy how we got there before the person who knows where the fuck he's going, but we got there. Now, as we're grabbing our sleeping bags and our backpacks and stuff and walking up to the door of his house, he says, I hope you guys don't mind cats. I have a couple cats. No problem with animals, right? We open the door. And have you ever played the game Punch Out on the Super Nintendo? Like the super old school game where you like fight Mike Tyson and he just like clocks
little
you?
Mac.
Yeah. So I want you to imagine Little Mac's boxing glove punching you across the jaw, right? That's the force in which the smell of cat piss hit us.
Oh shit.
It was literally like Mike Tyson's revenge knockout, like right across the jaw, like an anvil to the forehead.
Just a big wall of fucking ammonia.
Yes, ammonia everywhere. So that was our first red flag that we should have just turned around. But we were trying to be respectful. We don't want to pass any judgment on anybody, so we go into the house. Now he shows us the sleeping arrangements. This person has a couch that is made of like that fake suede material that like once it gets wet once, it's like wet forever. So it's like slick, it's like slimy. That's one of the beds, right? The other one was a futon that looked perfectly fine, nothing wrong with it. Maybe a little like beaten down, but not a big deal. And that was it. Like the other 2 of us were going to be sleeping on the floor. We had sleeping bags, so not a big deal. of the members decides to go take a shower because we did just play a show. Like we have been in the car all day and we were all going to jump in the shower at some point. So they go into the shower and about 2 minutes later, this was like the world's fastest shower. He comes back out and he throws his socks into the garbage. And we're like, throwing your socks away. He's like, go look in the fucking bathtub. And it's covered in like black mold or slime or something that certainly wasn't natural. So he showered in his socks and then threw them away immediately afterwards because like they were disgusting.
Oh,
Now it comes to the point of the night where our lovely host of the evening says, all right, guys, good night, blah, 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 blah. I'll see you guys in the morning. And we kind of had this unspoken decision that right after this guy went to sleep, we were probably gonna like go sleep out in the van and at least just stay parked there. So we had like somewhere safe to park. But we're gonna be asleep to do it because we didn't want to be rude. Like we had no problem ghosting him, but like we wanted him to at least be asleep before it happened. So he goes into his room and we're all trying to settle in. One of the members lays down on that perfectly normal futon that I said that only looked a little dingy and it folded in on them.
yeah.
Like a fucking comic, but like a cartoon. Like they got into it and were instantly turned into like a fucking hot dog because both sides just folded up like a bun, right?
Oh my God.
Then these cats, one of the cats is on like a kitchen counter and like fucking 5-star frog splashes the one of us that's sleeping on the floor. Just
As cats
directly
do,
onto
yeah.
them. As cats do, right? And we're like, what? We're almost at the point where we're just all fucking laughing because of how absurd it is. And then about a minute after our host had gone into his room to go to sleep, he comes back out and very nonchalantly says roughly about the following. Says, hey guys, I don't mean to alarm you, but I just found some flea eggs in my bed. And before he finished that fucking sentence, all 4 of us were up. All of our shit was either in our bag or over our shoulder. And we were like, thank you. Have a great night. We're going to go get a hotel.
No.
So then from there, yeah, we get into the car and the guitar player decided that he is going to drive 2 hours east. So that way, when we got a hotel, we could at least be a little bit closer to our destination the next day. But I have zero desire ever to return to that city. That was it was the grossest thing I've ever firsthand experienced. Yeah. If someone offers for you to stay with them and you don't know them, like
No, I'd rather drive. Sorry.
also don't do that
Yeah, I mean, like, unless they're a friend,
because
I just not some stranger.
yeah, you got to know them. You got to know them. Like you
That
got
made
like that's
that whole story made my screen crawl. Like, own cats. Our
yeah.
cats don't have fleas, but having like
I mean,
a
I have
cat from the street.
a couple like neighborhood cats that come around all the time. They don't have fucking fleas. Like the lack of care and like basic hygiene that was exercised in that hellhole of a house is baffling.
I feel like they should not be a promoter. They should be like putting their own life together.
Well, I told you only 2 people showed up to the show, so I wouldn't really call them a fucking promoter either.
Yeah. Oh wow.
They are simply just a person who does things
Does things, but
as
likes
people
cats.
do, and
Yeah.
that likes cat.
That I just picture the
Not,
flea. I just picture the
not-
fleas on me now.
yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, so enjoy not
Yeah.
sleeping tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gross.
That's certainly the grossest thing. Most of like the seedy things or like the dark things or like the shady things that I've dealt with, like certainly aren't any different like what other bands are gonna have dealt with. Like we were offered a spot on a festival last year and we were offered the spot and we were like super gracious. We were like, we would love to accept it. And I was very cautious and I said, okay, what's the buy on? Because there were some pretty big the festival. So I knew that they weren't just giving out these spots.
Yeah.
And the guy like talked down, he talked it up. He's like, oh, it's fairly reasonable, especially to get in front of an audience like this audience. And he straight up tells me that it's going to be like $3,500 to play at like 3 p.m. at this festival. And he was like, if you want to play later, you can play before this band, and it's $4,600. Like,
Yeah, that's not no.
like
That's
that,
just taking
and that's grossly taking advantage. I thought maybe he was going to ask for like $500, and be honest, $500 to play in front of a few thousand people. Like I could cost to profit ratio like justify that, right?
Yeah.
If I play in front of 500 people, right, and I can sell, I don't know, 20 shirts, 15 shirts, that pays for it. You know?
Yeah.
So cool. That's not a big deal. But he hits me with an almost $4,000 to $5,000 buy on. I was like, well, thank you so much for the offer, but I think we're gonna have to pass on this opportunity.
Yeah, I never understood all that. Like, I mean,
Well,
yeah, like,
they book all these bands that have guarantees, like your headliners, right? So
Right.
your national touring bands, they all have guarantees, and they're trying to pay them. They have to pay them in advance of the show,
right.
and they have to pay for things like the venue and security and all of that. Like I get all of that, but that's supposed to be of the promoter, not the
Mhm.
ask of bands that could potentially draw in more fans. Now, I'm not saying that we could draw 100 people to a festival at that time, but we probably could have brought 40. So if he was selling tickets at, $50 a pop for a festival, 40 times 50, that's what, $800.
Yep.
I actually don't know how math works. It's certainly more than $50 we could have brought.
Yeah. I mean, like that made more sense. I mean, like we don't really have like those kind of buy-ins around here. We got like ticket sales, and I think some people
Ticket sales,
some venues will give you
Go
like
ahead.
a small percentage, and then others will like if you sell a certain number of them, then you get a percentage afterward. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's fair to me as long as you're not buying in.
Yeah, my
You know?
relationship with sales has or I guess my view of them has changed over the years, right? Like when I was just starting out and I was dumb as shit, like I was like, all right, cool, this is perfect. Like I just got to sell a couple of tickets and I can play this show. Awesome. And I certainly dealt with some promoters that like if you did not sell, they're like, hey, you need to sell 20 tickets and you sold 5 and charge you for the other 15 tickets, right? So like I would avoid those promoters because that's a crappy way of doing it, right? But as I've kind of progressed as a musician, like I've seen some promoters do it in at least a more like acceptable way, at least personally to me, where they're gonna ask you to sell like 40 tickets. But like at this point, if I can't get 40 people to come out to a show to see us after all of the hard work that we've done with promoting and networking and just playing shows, like if I can't get 40 people to come out to see us in a city that we've been in before, that we have a community in, then I'm doing something wrong on my end. Does that make sense?
Right.
Right. Like we did a show in Fort Lauderdale back in February, and we put the show on ourselves, right? Our bass player booked the show and he was super excited about it. He put so much hard work into it. And this was the first time I'd ever seen him like try to book I don't know if he's done it before, but like for us, this was the first time he's tried to book it, and he put like so much thought and care and effort into it. And like between the 5 local bands, like there were no national bands, no touring bands. We drew like 360 people into this club that only really fit 350. Like
Fire marshal's coming.
yeah, I mean, everything went great. The show went awesome. Like this is 100% like a celebration story, but like that should be something that we can do a couple times a year, is have a massive draw like that in our hometown. So if someone's like, hey, I need you to sell 30 or 40 tickets for the show, like that should be doable for a band that is promoting and pushing and being active in their community. Like if I sell 39 tickets and he comes after me for the last ticket, I'm going to tell him to fuck off. But like,
Right.
Every time we've done these events, like we came as Romans last year, we didn't have to move a single ticket. We weren't asked to. because we had shown this promoter like people come out to see us because we have fun and we want to like be part of the community, so the community will show up for us.
That's good that you got that kind of draw. Like most towns, it's kind of hard to get like any kind of participation like that. Like I
Oh,
guess it's
I
different. It's
mean,
different for other cities too, though.
yeah,
I
well,
mean,
no, this is not a city thing. Like, this is certainly not something that I'm used to. Um, Obviously, like over the last 15 or so years of playing in bands, I've played many more shows to under than over 200, right? I've had many more shows where there's only been 10 people there than I've had shows where there's been over 200 people. But more recently, we've worked ourselves into these opportunities and we've made friends in like different cities. So like I said, I live in Jacksonville, so I have a whole community of people up here that I know that I stay, because like I go out to shows, I see people, I go to like emo nights just to hang out and like meet people and say like, oh hey, you should check out this band as well. I tell people I bartend, right? So I at the bar that I work at, I tell people about my band because I'll put on like music that I like during the day and they'll come in, they'll talk about it. So like I promote there.
Mm.
And then just by playing in cities like Orlando or Ocala or Gainesville or Tampa, like we're building communities in each of these cities. So that way, when we do come back, we know that we're gonna have folks show up to hang out with us and like have a good time.
Right. And you're doing your job promoting. Actually, that reminds me. So like if you're the band dad, you're the band dad, correct? Basically.
Yeah.
How do you like that role? Some people either love it or hate it or just
I think
like
it depends on the day.
Yeah.
I think like most parents, it probably depends on the day. I do like having control over a lot of things just because I'm used to always do, and like I like to plan things out and take into consideration all of the different like variables and factors into like making some of these decisions. But there are certainly some times where it's frustrating because it's not a dictatorship, right? This is still a group effort between myself and the other three.
Yeah.
So like some days I'll be like, hey, this is what I want us to do, so this is what we're gonna do. And they'll push back. Like they should, if they disagree with something, they should push back, right? They should be like, hey, let's talk about it. But sometimes it can be frustrating because we are all still independent people that have made up our minds on certain things. Sometimes seeing eye to eye is certainly something that has to be worked out, and it's not always a given. But I guess in terms of being like band dad and having a lot of the responsibility, I'm fine with it. I enjoy most of it. I've been doing a lot of musical and music community stuff longer than most of the other guys in the group. So I have a lot more of a network of people that I know that I can kind of lean on for help on things. So it's fine that they look to me towards doing these things.
Well, that's good because some people aren't always. It's like it's different. It's basically different views on it because some people don't want to do it, aren't comfortable with doing it, or just want the glory but not the work for it. And like
certainly,
I mean, how does obviously since your band lives somewhere else, do they kind of promote themselves too, like real well? I mean,
they definitely work on promoting in the South Florida area. They go to shows down there still. They obviously have their friends, and we have friends from other bands in that area that like they'll hang out with or go check out and go see at shows. They're not hermits. Like they don't just go sit at home, call them and say, hello, we have a gig, right? Like they do things. So it's certainly not like a one-man operation in terms of getting the word out there. I just like when it comes to online content, I have a more natural knack for it. So I handle it, or most of it, but they all have like their independent social medias that they still use to promote. And then, like I said, they go out and they talk to people and shit like that.
it's hard to get everybody on the same page sometimes. Like some of my members, they kind of basically like hide. I mean, they don't go out. Some of them got kids, so it's like,
yeah, no, I mean, like,
and to me, like, it's okay to not have all the hands in the pot. That's okay.
You actually don't want all of the hands in the pot.
No,
You really do, because if everyone's hands are in the pot, that means everyone's brain is in the pot, and everyone's brain is not on the same fucking page. What you
Right.
need is you need to just have communicate and defined roles for everybody and still open up dialogue whenever decisions need to be made that require a collective agreement.
True.
You know,
I mean, that makes sense.
like,
We try to
yeah.
keep it that way, just civilized, but you know.
Yeah, I think a lot of people look at a band as you have to be like best friends all the time, so you don't want to disagree with each other. Like I'm friends with the guys that I'm in the band with, right? Like Mike, Nelson, Javier, and we're friends. But when it comes to like certain decisions, like we have to approach it like it's a business, because want it to be a business. You know what I mean? Like we want it to be able to be self-sustaining and earn something.
I don't know if
whether
it's just me, but you keep cutting out. I don't know if Ed can hear you or not, but your
Ed, do I
voice
keep
cuts
cutting out for you?
You do keep cutting out.
Okay.
Oh,
You have for a bit, so I didn't know if like that was like a storm down there or
oh, I
something.
mean the weather's
You just did
pretty
just now.
crappy down
Yeah,
here.
you just did
Yeah,
again.
you just did when you said
You
that.
cut out for like 2 seconds at a time.
Oh shit.
I mean, I guess you can't help that. I guess.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
what
gotta
can you
be
do?
it's gotta be the weather. Yeah, just let me know and I can repeat whatever I'm saying. Um, fuck, where was I?
The hands in the pot. You're friends with the band.
Oh yeah, like you can be friends with everybody, but like when it comes to decision making, sometimes you need to approach it from a business sort of viewpoint.
Hmm.
You know, sometimes disagreeing is the correct thing to do. And like it's gonna upset somebody, but look at it as a personal thing, look at it as a business thing. You know, there are certainly opportunities that we've turned down because it didn't make business sense for us to do it,
Yeah.
regardless of how like maybe one specific person might have felt about that opportunity.
Yeah. I felt that decision before.
Yeah, and like
Or
the
like
thing is like don't get bent out of shape about it.
right.
You know, another opportunity will happen.
Yeah,
Because
that's usually what happens. I mean, I said something earlier about a certain place that we can't play because one member feels like they don't want to play that. But at the same time, it's local to us and it's like there's not much around here. And I and the rest of them agree that it's more of like a business decision to play that place versus personal feelings. It's not like going to hurt the band for playing that, especially if anything, it's probably hurting us not to play that place. But again, that's a whole different
it could
conversation.
be. It could, yeah. Yeah.
So
I
it's like, and we play like it's sad because we're from South Bend, but we don't really play in South Bend because there's not much opportunity, and the opportunity that is there is not open for us to play because of certain members. So it's like, and we know how people are. They're not gonna, it depends on who they are. They're not gonna be motivated to drive the next town to see us. I don't anticipate that to happen. It'd be cool if most people are on that kind of page to do so, but
Yeah, I
and
mean, I guess
yeah,
it just depends on, how far in advance do they know? How does the entire show look? Does it just look like your standard show, or is there some sort of special draw for them to come out? Like if
right.
you make it an event, you can convince people to make the drive.
Sure. I mean, we give everybody like a month ahead of time, a month.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not to say there's other places to play in the city because there is, and it's coming up. It'll probably come to us, but like that's just an example of like how some people's feelings affect the business portion of it for what's good for the band.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
understand that
So,
entirely.
I mean, again, this whole podcast is about like, lessons that everybody brings to the table, like yourself, your experiences.
Yeah.
I throw my bullshit in, even though it's bullshit,
Eh,
but
conversation needs at least, two or three people. So,
that's true.
it can't just be you asking me questions and me rapid fire responding. That'd be pretty boring to listen to.
I know that's how we funk this place up here.
Yeah.
So any other I guess you mentioned all the crazy things. I mean, so far,
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't really, I mean, other than some shows just being duds here and there, um, there's not much that I think I really have left in terms of like dark or seedy shit. I had promoters trying not to pay you for shows. Like that's not anything new. Like
Nonsense.
people have experienced that before. Shit. I guess I've been very fortunate, in the last 15 years of playing music, 17 years of playing music, that I haven't had too much negative happen. I mean, I have one more thing that happened, but this is really just like this would be like a band that I was in that did something shitty to me. It's not so much like a scene thing as like the specific thing that happened.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was in a band when I was in college, right? And I just first started learning how to do like screaming vocals. And I wasn't very good at it. Like that's a fair I wasn't good at it yet because I was still learning.
Yeah.
But I had managed to get us booked at a gig at my college. And the gig paid $400, right? So it was $100 per member of the band. Uh, so actually it was $500, right? So 100 for each member was a 5 piece. So we play the show, and the next fucking day, they kicked me out of the band.
Okay.
So like they literally had made the decision. They must have made the decision weeks before, and just kept me around long enough to get paid.
Hmm.
So like
I mean,
that's a shitty thing to do, right? Like
yeah.
I'm not making that up. That's pretty shitty, right?
I mean that no, that is shit. Like a warning,
Yeah.
a warning would be nice. Because
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like if you're gonna fire somebody, give them a good reason, and maybe they can learn from their mistakes, or maybe the band was a bunch of dicks. I don't know.
Well, yeah, none of them play music anymore, so like, jokes on them. I'm still having fun.
Oh
But I
well,
think
there
I
you
think
go.
it I think it has I think it's more so much the timing of it, right? Like I basically handed them a paycheck the night before, and then they fired me the next day.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, it's.
that's a pretty crummy way of
I
doing
mean,
things.
you were younger, right? So it's
Yeah,
like
I mean, yeah, I was like
younger
20.
people make dumb decisions. I mean,
Yeah,
nobody's smart around that age. So
I'm
again,
still waiting.
as you
There's a
said,
shit.
as
There's
you
people my age that aren't smart still.
that's same. But like no, as you said, like they're not in bands no more. So obviously, like it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a couple years, it stung for a little bit, but
Oh yeah, I mean,
shit happens, right? I've had to kick people out before, but like I wouldn't do it like that.
we we kicked a drummer out once. He was not getting along with another member, and he was young and inexperienced. I didn't want to do it, but I felt like as the older guy that I didn't think he would progress very well. And the fact he was getting into it with the other member, it's like, well, let's just find somebody else because there's a lot of tension there.
Yeah, sometimes the fit's not fucking good. Like it doesn't matter how good or bad someone is as a musician. If like they can't get along in a group of people, like
Yeah.
you're gonna get fired from a job if you can't work as a team. Like you got to look at some of these like I said, business decisions. It's
Yeah.
not personal. Like sometimes, hey, like every time you're around, you always put everybody on edge. Like you're always negative. Like, hey, we need to move on from you because it's not working out.
But that reminds me, the funny part is the member who's fighting with, he usually fights with other people. So it's like, I can't kick that member out, but it's like I had to warn him. I'm like, you need to quit acting that way too. Cause then like it rubs other people wrong.
Yeah,
And
I
in a
mean,
way, like, so it's kind of both of their faults what happened there. But like, the younger one, was, he just, something about the young ones, they just don't want to listen anyway.
it depends. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. I mean, like when I had to this many many years ago, one of my old bands, like not only was the drummer, one of the only drummers I knew, but he was also like one of my best friends at the time. But I
Yeah.
had realized over the past couple of years that I had known him and hung out with him, like I had gotten progressively more negative towards people, and I was like always on edge, and I was always kind of like snapping at people. And I realized that like being around that drummer, like as a person, like gave me anxiety, and like I went from enjoying hanging out with him to like dreading hanging out with him. So
Mm.
like not only did like I basically dissolved the band because at that point it was like him, me, and like one other guy that didn't really give a shit either way. Um, but as friends, like I dissolved the entire friendship. I was like, hey, listen, like every time I'm around you, I'm in a negative mood. Like we just can't be friends anymore. like enjoy, like I'm sorry, but like bye. And
Well,
I have not spoken to that person in almost 8 years.
as they say, cut the negative people out of your life.
I got so much more positive. Like I started feeling better. I started treating people better. Like it certainly helped me turn around like some of the negative parts of my mid 20s, you know.
Hmm.
So like I'd write like a lot of what we write is about making decisions like that actually. So like I'm not sure if you guys got a chance to listen to any of our music, but a lot of it's like very introspection related and like trying to be a better person, not in like
Hmm.
any sort of spiritual way, but like in like a practical way. If someone's negative in your life, like cut them out if you're able to. So like we have songs that are about removing toxicity and appreciating yourself and looking for your, looking inwards to find like positivity or motivation and blah 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 blah, all of that stuff. But like a lot of it's based on like some of those experiences like where I had to remove people from my life or move on from certain things or overcome some sort of fear or whatever. But I still haven't gotten to write a song about the fucking fleas though.
Oh God.
I just wanted to remind you of that one more time so you could get the creepy crawlies.
No, I'd feel it on the side of my face. Like, oh,
Yeah, well, check your back too, like your lower back. I'm sure they're there.
they're on my back hairs, all
Okay, figured.
starting a colony. No,
There
like,
you go.
no, I was thinking about what we said. Like, I was like, I wonder if I'm the negative one in my band. Like, because I'm usually I'm next to the oldest one, but I'm more bossy. But I don't like being bossy. I just like, hey, it's like we should have goals here, like we should not waste time every time we get together because we
Yeah,
only have so much limited time. And
yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that the distance between myself and the rest of the guys has kind of forced us into doing is that every moment that we are physically together is precious because it doesn't happen every week.
no, no,
So like when we get together for shows, like we have to have a photographer, we have to have like some sort of videographer if we can. Like we have to try and have whatever sort of in-person conversations we need to have in terms of like what we want to do over the next month or 2 months or 6 months, because like we're not getting together every single week to having these discussions. And we have to set aside time because we have to jump on something like Zoom, right? And have this sort of conversation. It's not like I can just pop up at practice and spend 30 minutes while we're setting up talking about this shit.
yeah.
So like making goals and things like that is super important for any band, and making sure you put away time for that is super important. But also like there's a difference between being the boss and being an asshole. So like you said, like you sometimes have to make decisions like you said bossy, but I'm just going to hear that as the word boss, right? You can be in charge and not be a dick.
I don't want to be in charge. That's the
Yeah.
thing. But if I feel
Yeah.
like if somebody doesn't be a little more straightforward, then things don't
But
get
yeah, I was
done.
gonna say somebody has to be assertive,
I
right?
don't want
Somebody,
to though. Like
yeah,
I just know like, but if somebody doesn't, it's gonna sit by the wayside.
yeah. I mean, shit. I definitely didn't want to be the leader of not, I don't want to say leader. That's the wrong word. I definitely didn't want to be band dad 4 years ago when we started this band.
No, nobody
It,
does. But
but
sometimes,
it just
yeah,
happened that way because someone has to do it, right?
yeah. I had actually another question that we kind of asked our viewers, our guests. Do you have a bassist and drummer problem in your area, like lack of them?
Um, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
I
everywhere then.
mean, yeah. I just think I think drums is such a expensive instrument that it can keep a lot of people from starting to play until a little bit later in
I would
life.
think, yeah, I don't think it's expensive. It's just the idea that it's so noisy that the parents were like,
Well, but no, I mean, I can get a guitar for $100 at a pawn shop, right?
right.
I can't get a full fucking drum set for $100 at a pawn shop.
No. And
And
maybe
if I
yeah, maybe there's expenses, but I always
yeah,
thought
so
like,
like your basic starter kit for drums is what, 300-400 bucks,
right.
and then that comes with your kick, your snare, maybe like a tom or two,
Yeah, no
and then
symbols.
yeah, it doesn't come with cymbals, right? So then that's another $200 to $300, and I'm talking like if you're getting like bargain bin, pawn shop, thrift store, like starter material, right? Nothing wrong with getting that stuff to learn, but at that point, you're already in $500 to $700. I got a guitar for $100 and I bought an amp for $50 at a pawn shop.
Right.
So for $150, I'm playing guitar. For $600, you're playing a drum set. And then of course the loudness, right?
Yep.
You have to have a place to practice drums. Bass, I think just people forget that it's important, so they don't learn it.
No.
But
Actually,
bass
that's-
is important.
Yeah, that is important. But that's funny you said that. I went to a pawn shop because I was looking for a cheap like guitar, and like they're not cheap there. Like none of this shit is cheap, and most of it's fucking junk. But they like mark it up so high, and I'm like, why is this so expensive? I mean, it's part of the economy lately, but like, it's very depressing. It's very depressing in the pawn shops. It's like, man, all these people like had dreams and jobs, and now they're selling this shit for like nothing, and they walk away with money for less than what they wanted.
Yeah.
Very sad. I could
yeah.
feel the just the depression in the room.
Yeah, it's best not to think about some things though.
Yeah.
Certainly best to try not to think about some of those things. But yeah, it can be depressing if you look at a pawn shop and be like, man, someone bought this guitar because they wanted to learn how to play and they ended up having to sell it because they probably had to, pay rent or whatever.
Right. And like sometimes I go and look for treasures, but then when you realize they just mark them up higher, then you could probably get them somewhere else. I'm like,
that's true.
Oh, this place is dirty. It's also depressing and dirty at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Kind of like going to a strip club. Anyway.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Brandon, you still alive? What we got?
I think we can probably wrap this one up.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Hell yeah.
What we typically do is we ask the guest if they have a song that they would like for us to feature at the end of each episode. So if there's anything that you have,
okay,
you can email it to me as a MP3 or WAV file.
Okay.
And we can get it added. So if there's something that you're
thinking
of, you can go ahead and talk about it right now so they can have an understanding what it's going to be.
Yeah. So we just put out a brand new single at the end of March and the end of April, called Structures. It's one of the first few songs that we really wrote in this kind of long distance writing model where I would come up with ideas, shoot them down, they'd send me ideas back, and we'd workshop long distance. But the song just came out not too long ago. It's certainly our I don't want to say like it's our heaviest song because that seems like such a cliche thing for people to say, but it is our heaviest song. Like objectively look at some of our older material and then look at this. This is certainly our heaviest song to date. It definitely has some interesting riffs and ideas in it. The music video also just dropped not too long ago as well, but I'm going to shoot it over to you guys so you guys can check it out. It's called Structures. We have a few more songs ready for release this year. So if you're listening all the way through, like, congratulations, because this was a long chit chat about fleas and iguanas and shit like that. But, follow Dark Side of the Scene and follow Royal Hearts FL everywhere. And thanks, guys.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Well, again, we appreciate you coming out and talking with us tonight.
Thank you.
And it's been a great time.
Yeah. Lots of fun. Thank you, guys.
Lots of lizards and fucking fleas. Ugh.
If we had the lizards when we went to go see the fleas, the lizards would have eaten the fleas. Like,
next time,
if I was going to play Ed's game and I didn't know what you already looked like, I would have guessed you looked like the son from The Sopranos, AJ, or Turtle from Entourage.
I don't think I look like either one of those guys, though.
Yeah.
No. So the one person that people
I don't think you do either, but your voice that's what I picture.
It's the New York thing.
The one person that people have said I look like that actually makes sense. I'm gonna put him in the chat so you can see him. Hang on. Let's save this image real quick.
Save the image.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna drop it in the chat. So
I didn't know if even Ed even seen the chat when I dropped those pictures in there.
No, he said he did. Yeah, I think he said he did.
Yeah. He did. Yeah, I've never seen a lizard like that. I guess I don't
All
look
right.
for them, but yeah.
This is the one person that I can see where people are coming from.
Jack Black.
No,
No, that's not Jack Black.
that's
That's
an actor. His name is Emil Hirsch.
Oh yeah, that is a Miller.
He was in the movie The Girl Next Door back in 2004.
I just watched
Yeah.
him in a movie recently with what the hell's that guy's name?
Oh, he was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
This was a
No.
movie where him and his dad were like autopsy people, and they had like the body they had was like a haunted, possessed body. I forget what the fuck it was called.
I think that literally is just called like, is that The Autopsy of Jane Doe?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I've
That's
seen
the
that one
movie.
time. I've seen that one
That's
time.
the one person people are like, hey, you've looked like him. And I'd be like, okay, I guess I can see it.
Just say you are.
And so that
I
photo you
guess
sent, it looked like a young Jack Black at first.
Yeah, I mean, I've
Right.
gotten that before, but
I
like,
get Jack Black too. I hate it.
it happens. It
Yeah.
happens. But like, go look at a video of us playing and be like, yeah, I can kind of see the Emil Hirschness. I'm not as tall as him. I'm 5'3", but like, you
Oh.
know.
Ed always sends me pictures of people that he thinks looks like me. I was like, thanks.
Stephen
Yeah.
King's son. You look like Stephen King's son. That's the closest
Stephen
one.
King's son. Yeah.
Does man.
I guess. I don't know. I used to look just like my
Yeah.
father, so
That helps. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not the mailman's son.
no. And then my daughter looks a lot like me. My son's starting to, so can't deny them either.
Yeah.
The mailman's.
Well,
All right, guys.
Hell yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This was a fun
Thanks for coming
conversation.
on.
Yeah, awesome.
yep,
You
we've
guys
had a lot of fun talking with you tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. You guys enjoy the rest of your evening.
You
You too.
All
And
right,
anyone
take
out
care.
there, anyone
No,
out
go
there
ahead.
still listening, I was just gonna say, you can send an email to Brandon at darksideofscene.com. We'll get you scheduled on a future episode.
All right.
But-
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Take care.